Well, this is one more example of inappropriate construction going up in the city of New York. Here they're talking about a 21-story building on a block that has like 7 stories. On a very quiet residential block, even though we may be off Queens Boulevard, it's a block where traffic can barely make it down, where the bus has trouble coming down the block, and yet you're going to talk about having a possible hotel with apartments. It's inappropriate. It shouldn't be allowed to go on in the first place.
Think about the children. We shall not be moved. Please think about our children. We shall not be moved. Standing together in our neighborhood. We shall not be moved.
But then you have a situation where the developer started work without any permits, no approved plans. I mean, why do we allow this in the city of New York? The Department of Buildings did issue a stop work order, but it's like a little slap on the wrist. So the developer will come back, submit some plans, and get approval. We should have penalties in this city that are so strict and so onerous that when a developer dares to start work without a permit, he'll never think about doing it at that type of situation, illegal practice, ever again.
So tell me a little bit about what's going to be built here.
What we're told is that a 21-story hotel/rental apartment building is going up in this lot, which is the parking lot of the Pasta Lovers restaurant.
And
we've been given a little insight into sort of the structure. So there's going to be 2 levels of parking. One level will be underground for about 27 spots, mechanical offices. Then the first level is going to be more parking, and then retail space. And then the 3rd level is going to be some sort of ambulatory care, and then the rest will be hotel facilities and rental apartments. All of these public spaces and offices are what we're told is what's allowing them to go so high up, because they shouldn't be allowed to go up to 21, but every time you do something like this, you're given more air rights.
So how do you guys feel about that? What are some of your concerns?
Well, we're really scared, actually. We're absolutely frightened. The first reaction we had was, we don't want cranes here. I mean, we're a small 8-story building. This is, I think, 5 stories. These are all about 8 in total. We don't want these huge cranes coming into our neighborhood. And then they just showed up one day without coming to us or speaking to us on June 30th in the morning and started digging. We mobilized and tried to stop them from digging that hole. We had an inspector come along with an engineer, and they found cracks in our foundation. So our level of fear has gone from here to here because we're absolutely terrified. Our building was built in like the 40s and it's never had any work on it. These cracks and the pressure of the jackhammers and the cranes and the plugging away, we're afraid not only will it make the cracks bigger, but it'll bring our building down. And you see these things on the news all the time. Someone comes in and builds something and the building next door collapses. And we have no recourse, the government won't help us, and we have to sue, which takes forever. So we're absolutely frightened, absolutely frightened.
What are some of the things you guys are trying to do to stop this?
Well, one thing we're doing is we're trying to get awareness. You know, unfortunately, people in New York are a little, blasé. Construction happens so much that they kind of throw their arms up and say, well, it's New York, what are you going to do? So getting people involved, getting the neighborhood involved, building awareness and letting everyone know of our situation. We know it's not unique to New York, but it's ours and it's our home. We've been enlisting the support of several figures, such as Councilman Avella, Assemblywoman Nettie Mayerson's office, Congressman Weiner, to help us to get through to government agencies like the Department of Buildings, like the Department of Transportation, the Environmental Protection Agency, to show them that something is wrong here. They are violating, they have several violations, ECB violations, they have stop work orders, they're doing things under the table and in a very sneaky way, and they're getting away with it, and we're trying to let them know what's going on so they can put a stop to it. Any awareness we can build, especially to find out what are they going to do to our building, is really key right now.
Now, what do you guys think will happen if this building does go up? What's that going to do to your neighborhood?
Well, first of all, it's going to destroy the parking. This used to be a parking lot, so because they started digging, they got rid of the parking. So all these people are trying to park in our neighborhood. I don't know if you had a problem finding parking to get here today, but a lot of people did. And it's going to take away the parking. It's going to bring congestion into the neighborhood. It's going to put a strain on our sewer system, our electrical. It's also, their transformers and air conditioning units are going to be sitting right underneath everyone's window, and the exhaust from the parking garage stoppage is going to hurt a lot of people that are living here. There are residents in our building, there are a lot of elderly residents in our building, people who have been here for 20, 30 years who face this, and they're going to be breathing in all this pollution from this building. It's going to destroy everyone's value, and it's really just going to bring a transient population and just all kinds of madness to this very quiet neighborhood.
Now, what do you think about a hotel coming to Kew Gardens? Is that something that's normal?
I really don't know why it's necessary to have a hotel here, especially, you know, the class of hotel. I mean, I really don't know the purpose of it. It's never, again, the developer never spoke to us. We really have no idea. We're going based on what's on the DOB website, so we don't know what the motive is other than for him, supposedly, he said to me he was sorry that this was a dream of his. He's just trying to make money. He's trying to monetize his space. And I guess one of the developer, Constantine Photos, who by the way spent a year in jail for something about asbestos, he's part owner of Pasta Lovers, and he owns other hotels. So this is a way for them to monetize. That's all it is.
What do you guys want to happen?
What we want to do is we want to find out what condition our foundation is. We'd also like to find out the results of a traffic impact study to find out if they can even do this on a one-way street with the Kew bus coming up here. We'd also like to find out what those violations are and the exact reasons why. They tried to do this 3 times and the DOB denied them 3 times. So we want to find out why all of a sudden was the setback approved, and you know, why all of a sudden did the DOB say okay. We want to know what's really going on.
So, let's say you figure all of this out. Are you going to be happy with something maybe not 21 stories, or are you just hoping that...
You know what, at this point, I'd be happy for it not to happen at all. And until somebody gives us all the information, I don't know what to say beyond that. But right now, we don't want it here. It's not good for this neighborhood. The people in this neighborhood don't want it. And we just need someone to do it.
And about the cracks in your foundation, is that from the digging or they've always been there?
Some of them have always been there, and some of them popped up after the digging. So we need the engineers to come in and do an assessment and determine once and for all what caused those cracks. But right now, they're by the hole.
But clearly, they're building on the parking lot for the restaurant. Should they be allowed to do that? I mean, every business establishment, depending upon the zoning code, is supposed to have a number of parking spots. Well, they're giving up their parking spots for this building. I'd be willing to bet the Department of Buildings never even checked on that fact, because I've had similar situations. So that's one of the things they're going to be checking on. Is it legal for them to give up the parking spots for this building? So now the patrons of the restaurant are going to have no place to park. They're going to be parking in the residential neighborhood. It's not acceptable.
Yes, my name is Mel Gagarin. I live in the neighborhood. And while I may be running for city council, today I stand here as a father with a vested interest in the future of our neighborhood, and as a member of a community that does not want to live in the shadow of a 21-story hotel that nobody asked for and that nobody wants. While this development may be as of right, we are here to demand our rights to a safe community free from the hazards created by unwanted construction, our rights to streets that aren't clogged by more traffic and pollution, and our rights to be free from the long shadow that this project will cast over all of Kew Gardens. Neighborhood after neighborhood, across our city we hear horror stories of the troubles that aggressive and unwanted development brings to our communities. But we stand united today to draw a line in the sand, to let the owner of Pasta Lovers know, and to let developers across the city know that our communities will not stand idly by while our neighborhoods are lost block by block. Earlier this summer, the New York Times stated that, quote, there are nearly 1 million buildings in New York City and more than 4,200 currently under construction, and it falls on the Department of Buildings to monitor them all, end quote. This, while the DOB's inspector corps is stretched thin at 461 inspectors. If the capacity to supervise the number of construction projects doesn't exist, then perhaps the construction project shouldn't exist in the first place. If this developer had any interest in doing this responsibly, we wouldn't be here, and neither would the stop work order. While we may have been denied a voice during the decision-making process, we will continue to be heard so long as this developer and the powers that be refuse to acknowledge that our city's residents have a real stake in our neighborhoods that cannot be measured in dollars.
Everyone together! We shall not be moved. Everyone together!